Today we're going to look at two newer features in IXL that you may be interested in using with your students. Both of these features are very quick to set up and super easy to use with the kids. The first one we're going to look at is quizzes. So I'm logged into my IXL and I'm going to go to quizzes here in that top navigation. I can also go under my IXL and there's a quizzes button right here. In this quizzes area, I'm going to see active quizzes, quiz drafts, and past quizzes. So any quizzes that are currently going for my students will show up here, and then I'm able to manually end those quizzes. Any quiz drafts that I've created but I haven't published for students yet are going to show up in quiz drafts. And then finally, any quizzes that I've given and those quiz results will show down here under past quizzes. So to create a new quiz, I'll click this green button, and then I'll type in the name. Next, I'm going to select a skill. I can narrow it down by subject and grade level in this. I'm going to pick a few different grade levels just to show you what this looks like. So let's say we want to add 2-digit numbers here. And I'm going to select this one right here. So I've selected my skill. I can also type in the skill code. And then next to that, I have what level this skill is at. Some skills will have multiple levels, anywhere between 1 level and 10 levels. And what you'll notice is that some of the levels have a little banner that's blue and green. And that indicates that this is a proficiency or mastery skill. So the 80 to 100% range, that's where this question would fit. So if I'm going to go with some easier questions, and then we'll say 3 of these questions. So I'm adding my skill name, the level, and then the number of questions, and I choose add questions. Next, I'm going to add a few more questions, and I'm going to jump up to 6th grade level just to show you, again, choosing that skill. So going back to my first area here, I'll choose my grade levels. I'm going to choose 6th grade this time. We're going to do whole numbers, and we'll say place value. Now, in this case, I've got 4 levels here. I'm going to choose a level 4, and I want there to be 5 questions for this. So I add my questions. Along the left-hand side here, we will see all of the question types that I've added. If I wanted to add a question between the sections, I can do that here by hovering over and clicking that plus button. And as I review these questions, if I like some of them, but I don't like all of them, I can always regenerate these questions. So let's say, for instance, I want to regenerate question number 7, generate a new question, and here's my new question. And so I can continue to do this and then delete any questions that I don't like on my quiz. Once I'm done adding questions to my quiz, I'm going to choose Review and Publish. In Review and Publish, I'm choosing when the students will see the results. So do I want them to see the results immediately, which means they're going to turn that quiz in and then they'll immediately see the results? Do I want the results to come through when the quiz is ended? So everybody has to take the quiz, I end it, and then they get their results. So those are the 2 options there. Question order. I want this quiz to be the same for every student, or I want it to be randomized. So I can decide on either of those 2. If I'm not ready to publish this for students yet, you'll notice in the top right-hand corner that changes are being auto-saved. So I can just come back here to quizzes and it will be in my quiz drafts right here. I can continue editing, and when I'm ready to publish, select the students that I'd like to assign it to, and then publish the quiz. If I don't want to assign it to all students, I can click Select Students and then select the individual students that I would be assigning this to. If I have multiple class periods, those class periods are going to show up individually within here as well. So that is quizzes, creating those quizzes. We're going to take a look at what those results look like when you're done assigning and students have taken that quiz. Once your students have taken quizzes, those quiz results are going to show up in that quizzes tab all the way at the bottom, and you'll see a results page here. You're going to know how many students have submitted the quiz, what the class average was, get a nice chart of where those scores fell. Then you'll also get small groups of how the students were distributed in those scores. Additionally, you will also be able to narrow it down by student and see how long a student took on a quiz. So, for instance, if Johnny only took 2 minutes to complete a 20-question quiz and he only got a 25% on it, that might be cause for alarm, and we want to reassign that quiz to Johnny. So, those are quizzes in IXL. Next, we're going to take a look at leaderboards. Before I look at leaderboards, though, I do want to mention one way to help differentiate leaderboards. Right now, leaderboards are a friendly competition between students in your classes. Currently, you are only able to assign leaderboards to an entire class. So if you'd like to assign leaderboards to a smaller group of students to help differentiate some things, you can go into your IXL rosters and you'll see a button at the top that says Manage Classes. Here you're able to type in a small group name. So I'll just call this Small Group 1 and then add students to it. So I want Johnny in his own small group. When I'm done with that, then I can go back to leaderboards and use those small groups. If I don't intend to use leaderboards with small groups and I would just like to use it with my entire class, I don't have to worry about this step. So next, we're going to go back to My IXL, and under Engagement Tools, we're going to look at Leaderboards. As a reminder, the two other engagement tools that we have here are Live Classroom and Group Jam. Live Classroom allows you to see what your students are doing while they're doing it. So if your students are going to be working on IXL in class, you can pull up Live Classroom, and it's going to flag any students that might not be on task. Next, we've got Group Jam. You want all of your students to work on the same set of problems, and you want to be in control of when those problems pop up. Group Jam is the way to go. Finally, and a new item, is leaderboards. So leaderboards are a way to just bring a little healthy competition within your students. So we're going to add a new board, and we're going to select which students we'd like to compete. So again, here you're going to see a list of all of your classes. If you don't intend to use those class lists and you'd like those small group lists, you'll also see those here once you set those up. So I'll go ahead and assign this to my small group, which just happens to be one student. Select what to record. There are several different options here. We really like the number of correct questions, number of skills proficient, and number of skills mastered. In both of these cases, the students have to do a little bit of work to actually get to this proficiency and mastery. As a reminder, proficiency is 80% and mastery is 100%. So if I do skills proficient, students will have to answer a certain number of questions, get to that 80%, and then it will count towards this leaderboard. Then I can select what skills do I want to count. Now I can only narrow down to subject and grade level. I can't narrow down to specific skills. So I can choose my subject. I'll go with all subjects. And then I can also choose my grade level. So depending on what grade level I'm teaching, I might include my grade level plus the one below me and the one above me. And that kind of covers all the skills that my students might encounter. Next, we'll look at selecting a start and end date. So I can start this and end it automatically. And then students are actually going to see a countdown when they're participating in this leaderboard. Finally, we're going to give this a name. And then we can choose Create Leaderboard. Once that leaderboard is set up, you're going to see those results start coming in. That start date begins, and you will be able to see what student is your top students and how many questions they've answered or how many skills they have proficiency at or how many skills they've mastered. You'll also see a countdown. Students will also see this leaderboard and those statistics. They will not see what questions or what skills their classmates have worked on. So that's a good thing to note, that there is still a little bit of privacy, knowing that your students won't be able to tell who worked on what in the class, just how many questions they've answered or questions they've answered correctly. This is when those small groups might be pretty helpful, because you can have students working in a smaller group that might be a little more fair. Maybe you've got all of your third graders that are testing at a second grade level working together on those second grade skills, and then your third graders at a third grade level and your third graders at a fourth grade level. So you can kind of differentiate that a little bit with those small groups. Or you can keep it just whole class and everybody is on there, and you do several different grade levels. So it's just a really easy way to, again, encourage students to maybe engage in IXL a little bit, maybe more than they would normally. Any work that they do on IXL in school and at home all count towards those leaderboards.